Thank you so much. How is everyone doing after this busy holiday, Thanksgiving and Black Friday? Everybody's good? Awesome. Cool. So for all of you that have been coming to my Zoom classes over the last couple of years, you know this is one of my favorite topics. I love talking about cybersecurity. I try to slide something about cybersecurity into every conversation in which we have because it's such an important topic that I want you all to understand. And I'm always learning myself about the stuff that's happening, like the new tactics out there. We've discussed over the last, I think the last two classes. I know Susan had sent us a bogus email. Frida had some issues. It's happening every single day. So what my goal is for after this class, we're going to run through this presentation. I'm going to show you some bogus emails that I saved myself. And I collect them because I'm always looking at the different types of what you're actually seeing. There's a very popular one right now. That's a Geek Squad one in Norton. It's like super popular. I'm seeing everyone with it. It's $417, such an odd number. And some people are calling the number. Some people aren't calling the number. I just want to help you all kind of train your eye as to how to identify these things from a mile away, and just some keywords that you will read, that you would see, that you may hear on the phone if you actually answer the phone. So you could just know that, hey, that might be bogus. And emphasis on the word might, because I don't want you to like hang up on a real Bank of America agent. I want to be able to teach you all to say, well, maybe pressure them a little bit more, ask a certain question to try to get you to understand if it's real or not. So without further ado, I'm actually going to share my screen and we're going to go through this. So give me 1 second. Here we go. Share. Here's my keynote. Alrighty. And let's hit play. Can everyone see my screen there? You see the guy up there? Okay, perfect. So I remember finding this picture years ago, and I'm like, man, it's the perfect picture because it's this, a lot of the times we know what we know. It's a lot of people, whenever this happens to them, if they go through the whole process, it's a very embarrassing moment. Okay, they don't even want to share with family. And I've had people tell me, like, don't tell my daughter, don't tell my husband. It's a very private matter because even if you give $100 or $1,000, and I know a lot of people who've given more than that, they really don't want to say, well, man, now when you start to look at the details and you unravel it, it's like, how did I fall for that? So I thought that this picture itself kind of, generalize this whole little topic because these guys and women, they're very cunning. And some of them are very good at what they do. But it's literally, if we could allow ourselves to just see that it's just a guy holding up this freaking piece of cardboard over there. And I want to be able to teach you all how to identify that cardboard in the real world. So now that's all of our information as you know it. You can always get that from Nicole and Ashley. This is some info that I like to share with people about just like hacks in general. So let's just double click on that word hack for a second. A lot of people will reach out to us and say, I got hacked. And to me, hacked is if, you kind of see it in the movies with Tom Cruise and he is in that room. I've talked about this before. He's hacking into the mainframe. He's breaking into a place and he's getting that. No one's inviting him in. He's actually hacking into those devices. Most of the times we are scammed because they're trying to lead you down a path to make you think something that is not. And so they'll say, hey, I am Geek Squad, I am Amazon, I am Apple, I am so-and-so. And then you say, okay, I think you are. Well, here, let me log into your computer. And then you allow them to log into your computer. You kind of like let them in. So a hack can take place, but let's call it for just terminology, a cybersecurity breach. You've been breached. Someone came into your quarters. Maybe you did open your front door and you thought it was Comcast, but then once they came in, you're like, you're not Comcast, get out. They breached your door. So what happens is we have these hackers or these breaches happening so often. It's happening to all of your friends. Or they're at least trying to do that to you or to someone else. So the key, because the police, I kid you not, they're not going to help you. They may mean well, but they can't do anything. They're not even versed in this type of security. And most of them can barely use their iPhone. And I'm not even trying to be funny, but I'm just being honest with you, in which I've seen it where I had to be there. And then the police officer come there and the questions that he's asking, I'm like, do you even understand what just happened? They don't even know how to turn on a computer. So what we need to do is be vigilant and try to prevent all of this from happening in the first place so that we never have to call the police. And with that, it's just more kind of retraining ourselves, rewiring our brain to understand this digital world. So in this digital world, I'm going to liken a lot of stuff to the real world that we live in, but it's the digital world. So for example, Frida and I were hanging out. We say we're going to go to Bed Bath & Beyond. Frida's driving because I'm not in the mood. So we're going to the store. We get there. We find a park. Okay. Once we find that park, we know enough to see that the Bed Bath & Beyond, the sign on the building, we're like, yeah, is this Bed Bath & Beyond? Frida will say, yeah, that's Bed Bath & Beyond. So then we open the doors, we go inside there. We can see that everybody's in there is wearing their little name tag, Bed Bath & Beyond. We see the products. This is a legitimate store. Now, imagine for a second, we pull up to another place and it's a back alley, but there's a little sign, a cardboard sign there that says Bed Bath & Beyond. So some people might just read that and say, well, yeah, I think it's Bed Bath & Beyond. It's colored blue. Let's go and check it out. So the difference is that's how I see this fake email. It's that much of a difference for me. But when you go into this digital world, you may see that a lot of these things sort of look the same. So as you think about the surface web, the streets that we normally drive or the internet that we normally go to, we Google every day. You may be on Instagram. You may be on Facebook. You're ordering stuff from Amazon. You're going to Costco, Macy's, all of these sites that you're like, that's a legitimate business. Everybody's heard of Macy's. Even if you've never shopped there, you hear about it. So everything that we do on the surface web on top, that accounts for about 4 to 5% of the internet traffic. This is insane when you talk about the billions of hits, okay? So 4%, 4 to 5%. And then you have the deep web. Deep web is gonna be legal documents. This is like local intranets that happen within universities, scientific records. I heard you all talking about art earlier, like all of the museum documents, they have their own compository that kind of lives on the internet, but we just can't access that information like that because it's in their internal internet. But that accounts for about 95 to 96% of the internet. And then you have this thing which you all probably have heard of, the dark web. So you may have received a notification from a credit card, if you have a LifeLock or something like that, to say, hey, your information, your social security number was found on the dark web, or your credit card was found on the dark web, or your passwords were found on the dark web. So it's not to say not to be alarmed, but what I can tell you about the dark web, because it's huge, if the place that we live in, and we're talking about billions of hits, is getting 4 to 5%, the dark web is about 5 to 6%. It's huge. So that number is almost equivalent, but a little bit more, right? So on the dark web, how does it work? It's almost like this place where a lot of illegal activity goes on in the cyberspace. So one, I can go down there and let's say somebody hacked Target 6 months ago. They hacked them. They got into their mainframe. They literally got their user base. They got usernames, passwords, and the last 4 digits of your credit card, okay, of everybody. And then Target put something out because they're supposed to put something out to say, hey, there's a data breach and we require, maybe you should change your password or whatever, or maybe they zip up their system a little bit more. But that will happen and maybe you didn't get the notification, but then that information, because it was hacked, the hacker then goes into the dark web and say, hey, I got some passwords and usernames. It's for Target, but they may work for other websites. You want to buy them? Well, how many you got? Well, I got about 10 million usernames and passwords and the last 4 digits of a credit card number. All right, yeah, I'll buy them. So the other guy will say, yes, he'll buy them. He'll buy them for pennies on the dollars because he's like, you literally need to go through and sift through this information and try to make something of it. So now it's being exchanged on the dark web. There's a note of that. And you may get a notification to say, hey, your information was found on the dark web. So it's not to say that they're actively looking at Susan or Nicole or Ashley or even myself. Your name or your username just happened to be in that big bucket of usernames and passwords that is being scanned by something that says it exists down there. So they may not be trying to attack you, but it's good to monitor that information so that you know what's there and what's not, okay? So there was this thing called the Silk Road some years ago where this young guy, and I'm sure he had a team of people, but he was making millions of dollars by selling drugs on the dark web. So imagine you go online and you're like, hey, I need to order some stuff from Amazon.com. You go to Amazon.com, you order it. They said, we'll have it to you in 2 days because you have a Prime account. Well, they were doing the same thing on the dark web, going to order illegal drugs, and literally it was being shipped to them the same exact way. But that right there, that the way in which you can do that on the dark web, there's no police down there, if you will. They try to add some people down there to monitor it, but not to stop all the illegal activity. So again, just to put this in your head, anytime you get a notification to say that your information is being on the dark web, I've gotten a notification that my social security number was on the dark web. There's nothing I can do. I didn't put it there. But if they hacked a company like a doctor's office that I went to, there's nothing that you could do about it. All you have to do is be vigilant and make sure that nobody's opening up any credit cards in your account, your name, and things of that nature. So always monitor that, and we'll talk about that at the end. So as we're browsing the internet, and we're going to use some, basically digital terms, browsing the internet. When I started browsing the internet in the 90s, I had my computer and I'm like, hey, I just want to go and browse. This is equivalent to you just going to the mall and you're just window shopping. You're just looking at stuff. Every once in a while, you maybe double click and go in that store and may want to see what they have. Then you can actually shop, do whatever you want. But if you just want to look, you just browse. And that can be browsing the news. You could be browsing Wikipedia. You can go to different art sites, look up your artists, and just browse. The most important thing about browsing is this is how people get into, issues. They have issues with being hacked. They can click on the wrong thing. So I want to show you what to click on, what not to click on, what a hyperlink is, what it's not. So I liken browsing to driving. We're going to drive on the internet and we have to get a car to do so. So let's see what kind of car you all drive. I have 2 cars in my garage. I got a Google Chrome car and I got a Safari, and I like to drive them both. So the importance of these browsers or cars is when I am in my car. It's kind of like that Volvo commercial. They'll say, well, you know, it's insulated. If you get in an accident, we're here to protect you, blah, 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 whatever it says. I like a safe browser. For instance, the elephant in the room to me is the Internet Explorer, right on the bottom row in the middle. There's a reason why Microsoft, the company, has done away with that browser and they've went to Edge. And forgive me, but the new Microsoft Edge icon is kind of green and blue. It's changed again. But they left Internet Explorer and they said, we're not using that anymore. We're going to Microsoft Edge because it's supposed to be a more secure browser. That more secure browser, I've always thought like, well, why couldn't you just make the Internet Explorer very secure? Everyone knows that, instead of like creating a brand new car altogether. So honestly, yeah, Microsoft Edge is not bad. I've used it. I've helped people set it up. But if I had to choose, anytime I set up a computer, like a Windows-based computer, a Dell, HP, or anything like that, a PC, I recommend using a Google Chrome and sometimes Firefox, okay? But the worst one that you have here is Internet Explorer. It had a lot of holes in it. And that's why a lot of people were getting hacked on those PCs because of Internet Explorer. So if you still have that browser, because you could probably still see it on certain PCs, stop using it. Make the transition, download another browser, use Edge if you have to, but I do not recommend using Explorer. Opera, I rarely see that on people's computers, but it's not bad. But if you're using Opera, I would tell you to go ahead, go to Chrome. If you're on a Mac, I would tell you just to go ahead, use the Safari. It's very secure, or you can download Chrome. Mozilla Firefox, I like it. It does weigh a little bit more in the sense that it uses some resources, but it's still a good browser. So if I had to choose the cars that we all should be driving, it's either Firefox, Google Chrome, or Safari. I think those are all legit, okay? So now as we're driving on this internet, we go, and now this is the address. So like I said, we're gonna use Frida again. We're going to Bed Bath & Beyond. What I have trained my eyes to do just over the years is do two things. If I am going to a place, I like to look at the address. And so meaning that if I go to 123 Sesame Street, I want to pull up and say, yep, that's 123 Sesame Street. And if it's 123 Sesame Street, that's the address. I also want to make sure that that is Bed Bath & Beyond. That's their logo. That is the company. So I couple these things. So anytime I go to a website, and I'll give you a real world example. We'll go to one together in a second. I always look at the address, no matter what. It's just something that I've gotten used to and I feel comfortable with it, meaning that if you go to Amazon.com, look at the address bar, the URL, and make sure you're at Amazon.com. If you are at, if you go to Apple.com, you go to Facebook.com, any .coms, just make sure that you're there. In addition to that, every website that is legit, company-wise, they will have an HTTPS : then nerdalert.com, or then google.com. The lock, what that does is it lets you know that your connection to that website is secure. What this thing is like we have to apply for to be a legitimate website. And it's not to say that if you go to a website that doesn't have it, it's not legit. For example, let's say your niece or your granddaughter is an artist and she just sets up a website. And when she sets up that website, she'll basically just say, hey, I'm just gonna sell my art to my friends and family. And when she does that, she doesn't make it secure. She's not paying for the SSL certificate, nor does she register for one. But we all know that she's legit. It's your niece, your granddaughter, whatever. You can still go to that website. What this thing does is when you go to a website, I'll tell you what we had to go through as a company. And it's not this crazy process. It's just in order to have a certificate, you need to verify that you're a legitimate company. By doing so, they need to speak to someone in management at the company to verify the real address of that company and the credit card, and they have to get a verbal confirmation. And if they don't get it, like every year we have to go through this. And there was like a day where I got the call from an unknown number. I missed the call, and we weren't secure for about, I would say it was like a few hours, because they said before we issue this SSL certificate again, you need to verify that you are still you and you're legit. So we did that, then we got our S. So we're back. And that happened like just, I think it was earlier this year. The point is that when I go to anytime you go to a website that is secure, the connection is supposed to be, it's, a lack of a better word, it's this secure, it's almost like putting you in the vault. So it's encrypted. So you've heard that word encrypted before. So imagine, for instance, when Frida and I walk into Bed Bath & Beyond and our connection there is encrypted, it means that there's a security guard posted at the door and outside, so that if anything happens within their realm and someone comes up to us and tries to take our money, the security guard is going to put them in a headlock, okay? And we know that we're secure. Now, don't get me wrong, could something happen to a secure website? Absolutely. But when you're exchanging information in here, in that store, no one's going to steal your credit card information, because they're saying that we've vetted our employees. They're not supposed to do that. Okay. And so no one's going to like take that information. So even on these websites, like at Amazon.com, it has the S, you can feel secure to know that when you make a purchase there, they are going to take your information, take your credit card, kind of hover over and say, don't let anyone see this credit card information. Then we're going to pay ourselves, and then we're going to give it back to you so that you know that no one else saw it because you're in our realm. And that secure sockets layer is just that. So it's a very secure thing, and that's what you should look for when you go to a website. So let me stop this share, because I want you to see myself going to a secure website. Okay. So let's go here, and we're gonna go. Okay, can you all see this here? Okay, perfect. So let's go to Amazon.com. This is what I'm talking about. That's our address bar right up there. You see that little tiny lock right there? So Amazon.com, it tells me you don't see the HTTPS right there, but the lock is just good. But when I click on that lock, now it then gives me this information. And by the way, it's important. I am using Google Chrome, Safari, Firefox. They all sort of look the same, but this design is a little different. But here's what I want you to see. My connection is secure. And it lets me know that they have a valid certificate. All of this stuff is just gibberish, right? You don't have to understand it, but it's just to let you know that it's secure. Because when you go to a website that's not secure, then you're going to see, like, it'll show you like a little line through there and say not secure. And that's how one of the things, either that, or if you go to a website and you click on one of those links in your email saying that they're Geek Squad, and you click on the website, you'll go to a site and you'll see that it doesn't say Geek Squad up there. It says blah, 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 xyz.ru or something like that. So pay attention to that. When you Google something here, let's go to Google and we say, we're going to look for some cool sneakers. Okay. I'm looking for cool sneakers. What's important for you all to know is, one, these are ads up here. I don't even want to click on the ad. I personally don't click on ads. By all means, you can. They're not bad things. They're advertising. They are, in most cases, legitimate companies. But I want to go down to where we could see cool sneakers. So here's one place. Whenever you're searching on Google, you can see, here's the HTTPS. We're going to Nordstrom. And we're actually even, let's go down here. Let me look at another one. Pop Sugar. Here's another one. It always gives you the domain name, but I just want to click on this so you can see my address bar up top. Always pay attention to the address bar. Just kind of train your eye to wherever you go, get in the habit of looking at it. Even if you know it's legit, just say, I just want to make sure I'm legit. Yep, I'm legit. I'm there. Get used to it. So let's pop out of here. Let me go back to my right side of my screen and let me stop and get back to this guy. Okay. And let's go here, Keynote. Perfect. Okay, so now that we passed that, let's go look at some other, we're gonna look at some more URLs. Passwords, I'm only gonna stop on here for a quick second and just emphasize, don't use a very easy password. I don't care if you think it's not an important site, such as like your email, your Facebook, you're like, oh, I'm not giving my credit. Just don't use an easy password. If sometimes I had this lady, she just shared with me, it was about a month ago. She never sent out the email, but somehow somebody like created, let's imagine my email is like, one of my emails is julius@nerdalert.com, right? Someone found out her email and created something that looked like that. So they did it, and it was, it was at a Gmail address, and they created something, let's call her Jane Doe. They created Janice Doe at AOL.com, and then they sent an email to all of her people. Someone else fell for the scam, and she felt bad about it. And I said, well, there's nothing that you could do about that. However, they got your email, but if the person didn't look at the email to even know that that was you or not, you can't take, blame for that. That's not your fault. It's out of your control. But one of the things that could happen is if they gain access to your account with an easy password, they can act like they're you. They can get into your contacts. So even though you may not exchange any financial information online, if you have an account online, if it's a FP, like you pay your water bill online, you pay your light bill online, anything like that, just make it a secure password. And if you don't remember it, write it down. If I come to your house and I help you out, there have been people that have been telling me over the years, any account that I help them with, I write it down or I type it out. And then they say, well, no, I don't need that. I got it right here in this book. I'm like, I don't care. Here you go. I wrote it down to make sure that it's right. Rip it up, do whatever. Or they say they remember it. And I kid you not how many times they actually don't remember the password, but I always take notes. So they'll call back a couple of days later and I say, hey, I wrote it down for you. And I advise you to either have a password keeper, which we'll talk about, or get the old school black book and just write it in there. Anytime you update it, write the new one in there, take the time to do it, because that's another thing you don't want to do. You want to be able to have those passwords whenever you need those passwords. So 1 second. Let's see here. So here are the password keepers. This is only a few. I say a few, more than a few. We have Dashlane, which is one of the top ones. 1Password is a pretty big one that I see. Password Keeper and LastPass. Those are the ones that I see most often. Every once in a while, I'll see like RoboForm. I'll see, just different, because there's so many out there. If you have an iPhone, the iCloud keychain is a free version of all of this stuff, and they've had it for years. If you're using Google on like your Android phone and your devices, it if you offer for it to save your password, you'll actually have your password saved into that browser and you can still access that. Now, here's the thing. I get the question sometimes like, should I save my password in the browser, right? You can look at it a couple ways. The benefit of it, let's look at it, the benefit and the good stuff, okay? The good stuff is you don't have to enter it in all the time. It's kind of saved in there, and every time you use it, you should have to authenticate. You can set it up so you don't have to authenticate, because as you're on your computer or on your device, if you give it access to say, don't authenticate, because when I'm on this device, it's probably me. So think about it. On your smartphone, you all should have some type of code to get into there, right? If someone have a code, Frida, I see you, you better put a lock on your phone. If you don't have one, I would say put one on there, only because if you ever lose this guy, then someone can just easily access all your information. And I know it can be annoying just to kind of put it in all the time. Now we have the face, we have the fingerprint, we have all of that stuff, but I think it would be advantageous for you to have that extra step. I know it could be a headache just to have that code on there. So now, if you have that code on there, it's almost like having a lock on your front door, okay? So when you open up your front door to your house, you have that key, you lock it when you go in there, you should be able to do whatever the heck you want in your house. That's your house. So if you want to leave $100 there by the light, you know that that $100 is going to be there. Now, when you have friends and family over there, if you are worrying about that $100, they're probably not friends and family. So the thing is that whoever you let in your house, you should still be rest assured that that $100 will remain there, or even $1, that no one's going to steal anything out of your house, right? Now, obviously, if you have some workers there, it's a different story. The point is that as you save these passwords, we're talking about the benefit of saving it. It should be secure because you're the only one with access to that computer, to that phone, or whatever device you have. And if you do give anyone else access, you could feel secure with them being on that device and not going into your phone or your computer stealing the information. Now, the other side of the things, if you save it, you can leave yourself open to being taken advantage of. So like if you let somebody in your computer that shouldn't be in your computer, notice that, they may look into your passwords and say, okay, not only did we steal money from her, but we also got a bunch of passwords. So you have to be, aware of who you let into your house, your real house and your digital house, so that nothing comes up missing. So I know I have not met all of you in person, but I feel all comfortable with everybody on here to come into my house and not think that anything is going to get stolen. The same thing, if somebody asks me to use my phone and I know all my passwords in here, I'll say, hey, yeah, you can use my phone. Go ahead. Here, matter of fact, I'll give you the code. You open it up because I feel comfortable with you all with my device, but not some stranger, not some Joe Schmo. So on the other side, if you do save them, if you don't save them, then you just have to type them in each time. And that's not a bad thing either. It's just like literally having a key to every door in your house, and you just keep that key going around. And you're like, hey, I want to go to the bathroom. Let me unlock it. Yeah, some people might think that's annoying, putting your password into every site every time you go in, but I know a lot of people who do that as well. So choose wisely. It's your choice. Tomato, to each his own. Or you can also get one of these password keepers. How do you create a strong password? So I'll tell you a couple of my passwords right now, because we're all friends and we're family. So you're not going to steal any of my stuff, hack into my accounts. How I create my passwords is I make it impersonal. I make it sort of long. Long to me is like 8 characters. When they tell me I need 8 characters, I usually try to go with 8 characters. I definitely make it diverse and I make it different. So one of my passwords from like a long time ago, I like the color yellow. I would use yellow 0316. And sometimes I would capitalize the Y or the W. Sometimes I'll add an exclamation. It depends on the type of site. Another one I have is Barcelona. I have a Barcelona 0316. Barcelona is a favorite city that I love. 0316 is my niece's birthday. So I try to get things not to be completely associated with me, but maybe someone else in my family. And then I would use a strong, like a character, like an @ sign, a $sign, an exclamation sign with that. I have one Jayla Marco 0316. That's my niece and my nephew. I have just started using this new one because of the little dude that's running my household, Elijah at 1214. And that's his information, right? So I would do the @ sign. Sometimes I would capitalize the E. Sometimes I would do another word or underscore with it. But then every single thing that I do, I put two-step verification on there. I know you all heard me say that, and you've heard me say it in the past, but two-step verification. So even if somebody did get my password, which I can share all of these passwords with you to the accounts that I have, no one can get in there because it's going to send me another code here saying that somebody from Chrome browser or from this IP address is trying to access your account. Is this you? And I'm like, no, that's not me. Do I need to change my password? Not really, but the reason why I would is because if they've gotten to a point where they can put the key in the door and turn the lock and it turns, that means they have my password. But they can't get into my house because I have the deadbolt there, and then I have a 1,600-pound gorilla behind the door that's waiting to attack them, right? So I'm really not worried, but I'm still, should I change my lock? Yeah, I'll change my password. If I find that someone got that password, even though they couldn't get in, I would change it. So creating a strong password, pick a city, pick a baseball team, a football team, pick a niece's, name or, nephew, whatever, and capitalize some letters, add some numbers in there that can make sense to you. Like it doesn't have to be when they were born. It could be when your mother was born. And you can say, okay, my method of choosing passwords, I'm going to choose names, colors, and cities. And here are my numbers. It's going to be either this birthday, this year, or this was the first address that I moved out on my own. Something like that, right? You couple that together, it doesn't make sense for anybody. And then now you set up the account and then you'll have a strong password. Now I've seen people create these long, crazy, strong passwords. It's like 18 characters long. And then I'm like, hey, you sure you're gonna remember that? Oh yeah, for sure. It's like all of my grandkids put together, and then I add a one, then I times that to the third power, and I'm like, okay, whatever. I need you to put that password in again. And then they get locked out of their account. They're like, somebody's hacking me. I'm like, no, they're not. Let me type it. And we get right in because you are not typing it in right. So also be very, when you are typing in these passwords each time or whenever, just be careful when you are typing them in. Go slow. So back to these websites. This is Internet Explorer. Most people don't use this, but this was such a great screenshot. I kept it in my presentations over the years, where it just shows now you don't see as many bogus bank websites, but this is an example of it looked like Chase at that time. And if you don't look at that URL, then you can actually go on there and put in your user ID and password. Now, when you put in your user ID and password in a site like this that's not real, what's going to happen? I'll tell you. It'll say password not right. And then you'll try it again. Nope, password's not right. Then you'll try it again. It'll keep doing that. And then you could say, forget ID and password. And then they may even get you to try to give them a call. But what you're doing is you're falling for a phishing scam. They're just basically saying, yeah, give us all your passwords. Sell us everything you got. Just give it to me. And you're still trying. You're like, I know I got here's my password right here. I've never changed it. and you try it again. You try variations of it, and you're just literally just depositing passwords to them. And then this site, the hackers on the other side is like, okay, let's use it. Now let's go into Chase. Let's go into different websites with this username and password and give it a shot. The cool thing about banks, though, is that like, if you all, like, let's say Eleanor or someone you you gave your relative your password. And this whole phishing scam, the way this works is you would say, hey, can you log into my bank right now? I'm at Costco right now, and they just said that, my card stopped and, my phone's not working. I can't get into the website. Can you call the bank or do whatever, log into it and it's somebody you trust, right? That person, you say, well, hey, what's your password, Eleanor? Oh, this is your password, username and password. They log in on your behalf, or they try. If they haven't logged in that account before, it's going to pop you a text message or send you something to say, hey, there's some illegal activity. If you are you need to verify that you are you. So even with banks right now, they're adding a blocker. If they see that you're logging in from a different IP address, different device, they're probably going to prompt you to verify who you are. Some people think that's annoying. I think it's great, because if someone's trying to hack into my account and it's not me, I don't mind going through the tape just to make sure that I'm secure. That's their fail-safe for us, right? So even if a hacker or these scammers got into your computer and they say they see your password and then they try to log in from wherever they are in the world, it won't allow them to get in. And they may tell you, and this is another thing they will do, they're like, hey, you just got a code to your phone. Now I'm going to need you to give me that code. You give them that code, you just gave them access to get into your account. So just be very careful, because certain people at a bank, they're not going to ask for that. So that's what a phishing scam is. You can read this in a nutshell. It's just where they could target you by email, telephone, or text message, and they pose at something and they try to lure something out of you. They try to get something from you by, tricking you. Okay. So don't fall for any phishing scams. Someone calls you up and they say they're from a certain thing. If anytime that they're trying to get you to do something in an urgent matter, walk away, hang up. You can always call the real number back. If you think it's your bank, don't Google the number, be 100% sure, go to the back of your debit card and call that number, okay? And then say, hey, did you guys just call me up? No, ma'am, no, sir, we didn't call you up. Okay, just making sure. And if they call back again, don't even pick up, all right? Because you'll get calls from unknown numbers and you just never know. My thing is, when it comes down to unknown numbers, I let it go to voicemail. If it's a legitimate call, I'll listen to the voicemail. I then call them back. If they don't leave a voicemail, I'm not that curious as to who called me, So I'm like, hey, if they actually really want me, they will leave a voicemail or a text message, but I'm not picking up an unknown caller. Now, there are times that I do pick up unknown callers and I actually know it's a hacker, and it's usually on my drive home and I have about an hour and a half to kill. So I try to keep them on the phone as long as possible for entertainment purposes. But other than that, I'm not doing it. So you want to be cognizant of these things here. The deceptive phishing, they just try to be very, just say that there's someone. They can say, hey, grandma, I'm locked in jail. Don't tell my mom. And you have no idea how many people fall for that, because they want to be the good grandma, the good grandpa, and they fall for it. There was actually an episode on The Simpsons recently where his grandpa, they acted like they were Bart, and the grandpa fell for it, But it was cool that they're showing this in the mainstream and just kind of they were really talking about the whole scamming thing. It was funny, but also serious. So the social media, the spear phishing, spear is when they're looking directly for you. They're going after you. They found something out about you and they want you and you only. Most of the time they want to just throw a net and cast it and see who comes back, who clicks on that email, who unsubscribes from that bogus email that you can never unsubscribe from in the first place. So these are the type of phishing scams, and you can always like search this out. I'll share a website with you all where you can kind of stay on top of the scams out there. We have these little bogus things that can pop up on your computer. Usually if you go to a site, you don't even have to be on a bad website. I've seen it happen where they're on a legitimate website and the ad itself pops up. They can be gaming on the computer, playing a regular game, Mahjong, and something will pop up and I'm like, man, you got infected. But they think it's real and they call and they let them into their computer. It's not. So if you have somebody in your family that can help you out, don't ever call this number. Apple, Windows, Dell, whatever, HP, they're not locking you out of their computer and then say, call us so we can get you back in. They're not in that business. So if you don't feel comfortable doing it on your own, just close down the computer. Never, ever call the number. We have these again, the fake websites. We have Google and we have a fake Google. Always look at that URL at the top. Train your eye to always look at the address. When you go to someone's house, you know that house. You've been there before. So you're like, yeah, that's his house. If you're going to the place for the first time, make sure you're like, hey, yep, 123 Sesame Street, this is it. Let's go in here. Same thing on the website. You'll get to know it and just look up. It takes you 0.02 seconds to look at that URL to make sure you're in the right place. That little text message I received here, that was from SunTrust, SunTrust-banking. I actually don't have a SunTrust account, but I saw that this came to my text and I'm like, man, that's pretty cool. Let me save that. So it's things like that that you have to look for. If you don't have that type of account, man, just delete it. Don't even get curious about it. So, and I'm gonna show you some fake emails. I just wanna like describe this to you here. Usually how I spot a fake email, and when I say I can see it from a mile away, I really can't because I do need my glasses to see. But what I'm saying is that when I see that email, I can just look at it for a split second and say that's fake. And I've had people tell me like, Julius, like, can you just look at it? And I'm like, no, I'm telling you it's fake. And they're like, but I really think it's real. I'm like, I get that you think it's real, but may I show you that it's not? And there are certain things that I see. I look at the font. I look that they say, hello, ma'am, hello, sir, hello. They don't even address you by name. The grammatical errors. They request your personal information out the gate, and it's always, in most cases, high urgency. And I'll give you these examples. Then you have the fake addresses and the web links. Again, I'll show you some examples on how to reveal that as well. So these right here is a couple of bogus emails right here that I've seen. Actually, I saved these guys here, but I want to show you. I've been saving a bunch of them over time. And let me show you here. Give me 1 second. Okay. So here we go. Here's my mail. Now check this out here. Can you all see this email here? All right, cool. So here's something that is from Southwest. So on my computer, I'm using a Mac and I have the mail application, but you can also do this. If you have AOL, you go to AOL.com, you have gmail.com, you have all of these different sites. You could still reveal this information. So one, Southwest is a great airline, but I personally rarely fly them because of where the airport that I fly out of. I know that I shouldn't be getting any information from them. So the first thing that I'll do, that you could do, where it says Southwest, look at this email address here. Look at this no reply, blah, 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 blah. It's not real. our new collection here. As we could see this here, it's not even capitalized. And then we also have the 2. So in here, they're sending it to Mr. J. McGee at AOI.com, not AOL, AOI, as you can see that. And they're sending it to multiple people. So they copy multiple people. And then this forwards over to me. So this right here is not real. Now, in addition to that, I'm just hovering, I'm not clicking on this. I'm just hovering over this particular message. And you can see that this is the URL that it's going to send me to. I actually don't want to be here. So at this point, what I do here is I'm going right here, and I would look at this link as well. And when I see this link, let me just click here. This one is hot as well, and it's a Wix website. Anybody can sign up for Wix and then create a bogus email, and it's gonna, now when I go to that website, it may look like Southwest, and you may think that you're on that particular website, which you're not. So let me show you another one. This one was a pretty good one here. So as you can see this one, Intuit, this is a QuickBooks notification. So although QuickBooks is a legitimate company, this is a real email from QuickBooks. But the people behind QuickBooks that signed up for the account, it's fake. So they sent it to support at Geek Squad, replied to support at Geek Squad, and here's my bogus email. So I know that I don't have this, but they tell me my Norton protection plan is $349, and it says, where is it? This is my renewal, ACH transfer, please let us know. I'm just looking at all this information and it just looks wrong. I know I don't have Geek Squad, but it doesn't even look right. Let me close that one out. McAfee, here's one again. This is, look, last chance, your antivirus. They didn't even, look at antivirus. Did they even spell virus right? They didn't even spell it right. They didn't even have the time. They just did it. They sent it out. But then when I hover over the link, I don't click on it. I just leave my arrow over it. It tells me I'm going to go to a mrcommunity.info. I have an American Airlines apparently, and I do fly American, but I've been selected. This is great. So now I'm looking at this. I got a .american.airlines. Look at that email address it's coming from. And it shows your email address, but then again, I'll hover over the link, look at the URL, look at where it's going to send me. That's the address it's going to send me if I click there. Now, here's the really important part. You may get inundated with all this information every day. The key is you can say, and I've had people do it, unsubscribe. Never unsubscribe from something in which you never subscribed to in the first place, because this is a phishing scam. Either way, either link you click, they're like, hey, maybe you think you're smart and you're going to say unsubscribe. They're just going to say, this is a hot one right here. Sell that email address. She clicks on stuff. He clicks on stuff. Never unsubscribe. You just delete the email. That's it. You have all of these here. You have the lows. You have here we go. Your first payment of $5,000 sent to your name today. And here there's no punctuation. It's like a run-on sentence forever. And this is a big indicator, and it's like sender, Sylvester. So some people may think like, oh man, I got $5,000. Look at this here. They sent it to a lot of other people. They just BCC'd me here. So everybody's getting, all these people on this list is going to get this. And it's like, whichever fish is going to go on that net and stay there, that's what's going to happen. So you just want to always look at who it's from, where it's here's another one from Geek Squad here. Let me open this one up. Another one from Geek Squad. They addressed me by my email address. They actually sent it. This is not my email. I'm sorry. They sent it. They said reply back to, but here's the to section. That's me. Here's Geek Squad. Look at that. Zero is a legitimate company, just so you all know. That is a legitimate company, but they're sending an invoice from a legitimate company so that when you pay, it legitimately goes through Zero. And Zero is the culprit where they need to get all of these fake people off their website. They have an account with them. So if you pay this, it'll go onto their bank account. But thank you for choosing our services. This mail is to inform you that your annual plan with us is renewed. The plan was confirmed at your end. Please check below to review your renewal charge. They keep using that word renewal. You just did it. So people will call and say, no. I didn't do that. I didn't renew. Can you cancel that? And then they'll say, yeah, we can cancel that. And then when they cancel that, they'll do like what Susan mentioned. They'll say, oh, $239. Okay, we're going to send that back. Oh, we just made a mistake and gave you like $2,300 back. Ah, my goodness. That's, I can't do this. Like, I'm going to get fired from my job. Please don't let me get fired. I got a family to feed. And like, can you help? Can you send that money back? Well, yeah, I'll just tell my credit card. No. We need to go into your bank right now. We need that money right now. Like, we have to get that money back. And then you're like, well, yeah, I don't want to take anything from you. Here, let's give it back. Okay, let me log into your computer. You give them access, they log into your computer. Then they can do one or two things. They take the $2,300, or then they say, oh my God, I'm so nervous. I just put another zero. Now it's $23,000. Oh my goodness. Like, you know what, ma'am, I gotta go. I'm just gonna go kill myself. You're like, no. Don't go and kill yourself. I'm a good person. I'm gonna give this back. Okay, this is what you gotta do. You gotta go and get some gift cards, or you gotta go to your bank and you gotta take the money out, ship it to me. I'm gonna do this before Geek Squad ever knows that the money's missing. We're gonna get in so much trouble, and thank you so much. Don't tell anybody about this. This is between you and I. Don't tell anybody. And they do that, okay? So when it comes down to this stuff, you just have to be aware and know, let me share this other screen, what these guys are doing. So I'm gonna go through a couple more slides and we're gonna open up for Q&A. So here. So don't fall for any of these emails. You didn't get $1,000. I'm sorry, but you just didn't. Don't hit deposit the money. Don't unsubscribe from an email that you didn't subscribe to. Again, look at where it's coming from. It's not a real email from Facebook. Don't click on the link. Look at the URL. Look at who's sending that information to you. Same thing with the text. This was one at the height of COVID. I ended up finding this one right here where they're saying distributed via the CDC Health Alert Network. I don't even think that exists. Maybe it does, but I've never heard of it. I know the CDC exists, but this is what they did. Even though they put that URL there, cdc.gov, that is a legitimate website, but they can hide any URL in the back of that URL, and the URL underneath it is the bogus website. So if you think you're getting something, if you need to go and look that up from CDC, by all means, but we can see at the very top that email address, cdc.gov-healthrisk@iplowllc.com. It's not the CDC. So be careful with that. When it comes down to virus and malware protection, it's always good. I've always liked ESET. I do like Avast for the moment. We have the business version of Avast that we give to clients as well as ESET, but Avast, I just heard about a month or two ago, just got bought out by Norton. I'm not a big fan of Norton, and I'm not telling you all to go on, if you have it, to just go and kill your subscriptions. The reason why I don't like Norton, I think it can do a good job, but they're very salesy. They're always trying to upsell you on something. Even though you bought their subscription, they're like, well, do this, do that. It's just doing a lot. But out of these, ESET was one of my favorite. It's always number one. But I just looked at the business version of Avast and I was very, very impressed with it. So not to say that the residential version of it is not good, but the business version, Avast seems to be legit. ESET and Avast will be my top two. There are other ones out there, but whichever one you want to, pick. I'm just not a fan of McAfee and Norton. I see that the most because usually when we go there, we still find other things. You can also get Malwarebytes. They have a free version of that, and they do better than your Norton. I kid you not. I've put that on a computer that was infected with Norton, and they've had Norton for years. Malwarebytes clean it all out, and I'm like, hey, this one was for free, just so you know, and you're paying for this one. So Malwarebytes, ESET, Avast. Two-step verification. We're almost at the home stretch here. Add it. I can't tell you how to do it for every single account, but you can always Google search it to say, how do I add two-step verification for Yahoo? How to do it for AOL? How to do it for my Amazon account? I would encourage you all to add it. I know it can be a headache, but you don't have to do it every single time if you remember your device and at least you associate that browser with it. That way that even if someone gets your information, they still can't get in. It's the deadbolt on your lock if they happen to get the key. That deadbolt, nobody has the key but you. And if now the only way you can give them that key is if they say, well, hey, you just got a code to your phone. Can you give me that code? If you give them that code, they're in. Okay. LifeLock is a part of Norton now. They got bought out, I think a couple years ago. So usually you can just get a LifeLock account, but it will be associated with Norton. If you get LifeLock, they're probably going to try to sell you the antivirus as well, and vice versa. So LifeLock and Identity Force, essentially what these things are, sometimes you get it with your credit cards. They're just going to monitor the dark web. They're going to monitor your identity online. None of these virus protections and LifeLock can prevent a scam from happening. You may say, well, I got ESET, I have LifeLock, the best package, and I still got scammed. Well, no, like these things are just to kind of help you out. But if you allow somebody to get into your computer or you fall for the scam, these things can't protect you. Now, if you put these fail safes in place, like two-step verification, strong password, being vigilant, looking at that URL, doing everything that you possibly can to prevent an attack from happening, then that's what you can do. So it's again, real world example. You have cameras at your house. You just don't open the door for anybody. You look through the peephole, you look through the window before you just let anybody in. They say they're from a company. You say, well, I do have an appointment with you guys. And what's your name? Oh, you're John. Okay, yeah, come on in. You're here at 10 o'clock. Comcast, nobody should just pop up at your house. So the same thing here. You're not going to get a call out of the blue from AT&T saying, hey, we just want to check your account. Bank of America or the IRS. They're just not doing that. They don't have the manpower to do so. You can try your best to get on these, opt-out lists where you're not getting all these offers. Does it work? I'm not sure, but this is a legitimate website. I don't know how quick it goes into effect. You can also get on the do not call list. Now, it's not going to work for the scammers because they don't live by the laws that we live by. They're going to call no matter what, but you can at least attempt to get out of here, out of these lists, if you will. PayPal, this is the last thing. This is just pretty much if you want to feel secure. PayPal owns Venmo. They are kind of like your middleman to handle transactions. So you can give your card to them, your bank account to them. And then when you go and check out online to really insulate yourself, you use your PayPal account. You would use your username and your password to log in, and PayPal would say, okay, Julius, stay over there. I already got your credit card. Nobody's getting through me. I'll pay these guys out of my account. And then if anything happens, you come to me And if they don't give you your product, we'll make sure you get your money back. So PayPal is one of those things. It is a cool thing to have. I use PayPal and also use my credit card directly with certain accounts. This right here, social media privacy, this screen has changed a lot. This is just, it's not hidden in Facebook, but I found that this was a lot easier to get to. It's just your privacy. If you are not trying to be like the next, Kim Kardashian out there, and if you want everybody to see everything you post, by all means, but I usually recommend, not letting everybody see everything you post unless they're friends and family. So if they're friends with you on Facebook, they should see your posts, but they just Google you and they come to find out all your stuff. That's a problem, because that's just information that they could use against you and say, well, hey, yeah, I'm a friend of your grandson, Walter. Yeah, and this and that. He's locked up right now. So if they can find this information out about you online, they can use that as information to help their little scam go a little bit better. So just be cognizant of your privacy settings in there, so that you're not being taken advantage of and nobody's looking at your stuff when they shouldn't. Last but not least, two-step verification one more time, because I think it's that important that I had to throw it in here again. If you don't have it on your accounts, set it up. Again, I can't walk you through on how to set it up, but you can certainly just Google that for that particular account. For Apple, for Gmail, for iCloud, for AOL, there's different ways to go about setting it up. You can either have it set up to send a message to an email or a text. I like text. If you have a smartphone, by all means, use it. With that being said, you can always Google this and learn about a lot of tech support scams. They always update their stuff, the latest and the greatest. And you can also go on YouTube. There's a guy who literally hacked the scammers over in the different countries. He gets into their computer and just make their life a living hell. It's it's fun to watch, but check it out, YouTube, or you can actually Google it. With that being said, I hope this helped, and I want you all to be happy with your technology. Technology can be good or bad depending upon how we use it. I just think that if you know how to drive on the internet and use the right browser, use the right car, I think you can be happy and you won't have any issues. Let's see. Let's go here. I'm going to stop sharing this. And now we can open it up for Q&A.
Yeah, that was great. Very informative. There's a couple of questions in here, and then I see there's two hands, and I know it's a little over time. So I guess we'll just jump right to the chat. Rose had asked that she's been at she's asked her bank to get her banking online and the way to make payments to people by accounts by phone instead of calling in the account to making the payment with her card. What do you think about the ability to send funds to family or businesses for payments or money as gifts?
Yeah, I think, Rose, getting online and getting your stuff on there and feeling comfortable with it, with the platform, like I think it would be advantageous if you've never done it before. Maybe even once you get it set up, go in there and talk to one of the bank reps and see if somebody can just they won't give you a full-blown tutorial, but at least to show you around that realm, that application or that website on how to use it and to set up those accounts. When it comes down to sending money, I like Zelle. Zelle is pretty much associated with all of our banks. And that conduit right there is a pretty safe conduit. The only thing is just make sure that you have the person's right phone number or email address that you're sending it to. And then Zelle, some certain banks, they'll probably ask you to verify and say, hey, you never sent money to Julius before. Can you just verify again that this is the information? Get on the phone with them and just say, hey, Julius, is this your number? I just want to make sure 239, blah, blah, blah. And then you can send that money. But Zelle's one, Venmo's another, the Cash App as well. But I personally like Zelle and Venmo.
Okay.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
So Discover is offering to remove your personal information from 10 sites for free. Do you know anything about that?
Yeah, if you have a Discover credit card and a lot of credit cards in which we have, they have the added protection where either sometimes they give it for free or you pay a little bit extra to kind of monitor your stuff online. And if that's what you're referring to, and they're saying remove it, I know that the information, if they remove it, it can always go back on there. So I just like the monitoring. You can try to get it removed. I've just never, I don't have that option with mine. It's just more about monitoring the information.
Okay, and what about like Venmo, PayPal, Zelle? Are they secure in how they work? Frida
Absolutely.
was saying she's weary of it, but
Yeah, Frida. So and it's good that you worry about it. If you don't have the fear of the unknown, and you're that confident, that's cool. But I think that the fear, we have this emotion for a reason, just so we can be alert. So it's okay if you don't know this, it's fine. Again, the PayPal and the Zelle, Venmo, all three of those, I use all three of those, and I think that they're very secure. PayPal owns Venmo, and then Zelle, it's its own entity, and I know that Zelle is legit because all of the banks partner with them as well. So that conduit, and Zelle is like a wire. So you send it, it goes right to them. Same with PayPal and Venmo, you can send money, and then the person has the opportunity to get it at that point for extra fee, or however that works. But all three of those are legit, and I do like them. I think they're very secure.
okay. And DuckDuckGo, good idea? Not a good idea?
Yeah, so DuckDuckGo is another search engine. So the Google, Bing, you have Yahoo, and then you have the AOL search. Those are the ones that we know the most. Most people go to DuckDuckGo because they advertise that they're not going to sell your information. They're not going to do anything extra that Google's doing. Google's very open about saying that, yeah, we are the product. Google is free for a reason because we're the product. So they take your, not to say that they're looking at Frank's information like as a Frank, but they just gather his information so that people can advertise to him. And they get this data on the back end so that it makes more sense, so they could sell to their advertisers and say, hey, look, we got 1 billion people that are 50 years old that actually like cookies. You can advertise to them. DuckDuckGo's whole thing is like, when you come over here and you search, you could just search, and we're not going to be tracking you. We're not following you around the internet and things of that nature. So I know a lot of people that use it. I think it's a good search engine.
Okay, and let me just get to some of the hands. Barbara, go ahead.
No, I just want to thank you, Julius, because when you gave the example about Geek Squad, almost verbatim is what happened to me. Everything you said is exactly what they taught me through. And I always thought I'm too smart to ever be scammed. And I was scammed out of my savings. This was over 1.5 years ago. And then I had a line of credit for like 16,000. And he went after that too. But with that, I have to physically go to the bank to get the money out. So I realized I'm being scammed. So I told him, yes, I'll go to the bank, which I never did. Yeah. And he called all night. He called my phone all night, all day, waiting on the $16,000, which of course I never sent. Mm-hmm. But exactly verbatim what you said is exactly what happened to me.
Yeah, it's unfortunate because I've had to literally listen to these stories in person while people are breaking down crying, or they don't have it, or they actually, it doesn't really affect their bank account that much, but they're still like embarrassed by it, right? And I've went through it and I see it, and I'm like, hey, this I have some people telling me that when I go there first, they're like, yeah, this was really Apple. And I'm like, hey, I get it, but it wasn't Apple. They wouldn't ask you for this type of money. Like, no, it was the Apple. Like, okay. And then we get through this process, but I've heard it for years. So it's like, if you all are hearing it, I beg you all to share it with your people. If you are embarrassed and it happened to you and you don't want to say it was you, say you heard about somebody that it happened to. But we have to share this information, because I don't want any of you or anyone that you know, or the people that may know the people that you know, fall for a scam like this, because it's rampant. Right now, it is happening more than ever because we're all on our devices, as we are, especially with COVID. We're all, especially when the lockdowns were happening, it was happening even more. So my goal is, that's why we do this class, you know, sometimes 2 or 3 times a year, because I want to hammer it in your head to let you know that you don't have to listen to these people on the phone. Don't allow anybody into your digital home, just like you wouldn't let anybody from outside just come into your regular home. You have to treat this as such, because honestly, if they just come into your home, they can't just get into your bank account like that. They will have to stick you up, put a gun, and walk you to the bank, right? Old school style. This way, they're like digitally logging into your stuff, and sometimes they'll do a transfer right there, and then you're left with nothing. Yes.
Yeah, I thank My Health Angel for having you on, because you know, I was very ignorant about technology, and since I'm listening to you, I've known a whole lot more. I
Yeah.
feel I don't want to ever get scammed again, but I think it happens to the best of us, because I thought I'm too smart to ever get scammed. And just what you said, I told a friend and she made me feel I'm the most stupid person on the earth, you know? So
Yep.
this is why you're scared to tell people, because you feel embarrassed.
Exactly. And that's the thing. So if they feel that they won't fall for it, that's great. But there's so many different types of scams out there, like a lot. And I've seen, I mean, very, very smart people who've accomplished a lot in their life, and they're right there with you. And they're like, oh my God, how did I think I was going to get all these gift cards, giving it to Apple? I'm like, yeah, you bought a Sephora gift card and you thought Apple was telling you to do it. And I don't say that in a demeaning way, but everybody thinks that it can't happen to them. But here's the key. I even think that it's a possibility of happening to me. So, and I'm really secure. So never ever rule it out, and just always be on your tippy toes, because when you think that you're unbreakable or whatever, that's when it usually happens. So I'm always considering, hence the reason why I'm always learning about it, because I too want to be able to make sure that I insulate myself from these different scams as well.
Yeah.
Yep.
Thanks, Barbara.
Thank you,
John, go
Julie.
ahead.
Thank you.
Hello?
Yep,
Hello.
go ahead, John.
Hi. Thank you, Julius. You had mentioned that you have a bogus email, either it's junk or it looks like it's a scam, and then you said delete it. I've been putting it into junk because I understand that if you put it into junk, isn't that website blocked for future emails?
So that email address should then go into junk and for future emails. But what happens, John, is they email you from all of these different emails. So you'll see, like, I had like 3 or 4 different Geek Squad emails coming from they all look different email addresses. So no matter what, you can still put them in junk. And I have some things that go directly right into junk, which I check quite often. Or I just delete them because no matter what, either or, they're going to come back and just hit me with another email. So either or, if you make it junk, that should teach that email, your client, that particular email address is junk. So going forward, anything from that address is junk. But if I send you a bogus message from another email address, that may end up in your inbox as well. These email clients like AOL, especially Gmail and iCloud, they do a really, really good job. Those two alone, with just kind of funneling the bogus stuff to junk. Every once in a while, I do, in my personal emails, I do get junk or scam emails in there, but I just literally just delete them all.
Okay, yeah. I just want to confirm that. Seems to me you do better by putting it in junk than delete it, because at least you put that into the
yeah, and then once you put it into junk, then you can delete it or have it delete on its own. Yes.
Yeah, right.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Thank you. You're very welcome.
Okay, Nancy and John, go ahead.
I was wondering if you think VPNs, virtual private networks, are worthwhile, and if so, how do you set them up?
I do think the VPNs, I normally, VPNs could be, so what a VPN, folks, is, just so you all know, it's a virtual private network. What it essentially does is it changes your IP address. So I have a VPN on my computer, and I'm pretty savvy when it comes to using them. There are times that I can't do certain things on my computer because my VPN is blocking me. So I would say that if you are using a VPN, just be cognizant of that very thing. Because one day I forgot that I turned my VPN on and I'm trying to do something on my computer. And I'm like, what the heck is going, why can't I get to this? I get to this website I'm like, oh my goodness, after 3 minutes, and that's a long time for me. I'm like, oh my goodness, my VPN's on. So what that did was it masked my IP address, and the particular website that I was going to does not allow VPNs. So if you get a VPN, it does two things. One, it gives you a different IP address. I can say that my IP address, pick one out of Greece, and that's how I can roam the internet from Greece. And my IP address, even though I'm here in the States, then I can watch a show, perhaps, that only people in Greece can watch. I see people use a VPN that way. From a secure standpoint, it literally allows you to have like another layer of protection because it's masking your IP address and it's a secure connection. So that's what a VPN is for. So if any of you all want to use a VPN, you certainly can, and they're pretty much easy to install. You would go to a site. There's NordVPN, Avast VPN. There's so many out there, and you could do a search for top VPNs and choose the one that works best for you. Once you install it, it'll go through a series of steps to install it on your computer, on your phone, on your tablet, and then just be cognizant that of that, so that if you go to a website and they say you can't get in or it's not working, it could be the VPN that's blocking you from getting there.
And if you have to turn off the VPN to access this website, how do you turn it off?
It for various VPNs, it's usually easy. When you have the VPN installed on like your computer or something, there's usually like an off button. So you could just literally just turn it off, and now it'll take your real IP address. So if you click into that program, there's like a toggle button that'll just say toggle it off. Now you're off, and then you'll refresh that website, maybe close it out and then go back in there. And in most cases, you should be able to get there. You don't have to like restart your computer. But I usually tell people about that because they'll get a VPN and like, now my internet's not working. It's like, no, it's working. It's just that VPN is blocking you from, seeing those sites. Yeah.
Could I ask a quick question of kind of segueing off what the other John was asking? I noticed when you were hovering over the sender's address, there was like a drop down where there was a block. Could you just block the sender if you know it's just this bogus stuff coming in?
You certainly can. You can block cell phone numbers. You can block the email addresses. And usually I find it's rare that I get a bogus email from the same email address. There's usually different ones. But it's not to say that you can't block it. I think it was about 3 years ago, my phone number starts with the area code 239. And about 3 years ago, I was getting hit. I kid you all not. It was like maybe 5 or 6 times a day from different 239 numbers. And the first couple of times I'm like, hey man, maybe this is somebody I know. Hey, hello? And it'll be a scammer. And after a while, I just start blocking all the numbers. They just keep hitting you with a different number. It was a waste of my time. Now I just hit end, let it go to voicemail. But you can certainly do that, especially if they're reaching out to you multiple times. You could block the email address. There are filters that are set up where you can block certain words, and you can just have it go right into trash. So there's different ways to do it, but you certainly can block it.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you very much.
You're very welcome.
Okay, Susan, go ahead.
Yeah, I just want to point one thing out. You pointed out what my situation was. What I did first was I called the bank and they said, come in and change the account number. this, that, and the other thing. I did. Do not throw your old checks away, because one of the next steps is calling Social Security to
Hmm.
advise them what your new routing and checking account number are going to be, but they want the old number first before they will do, put it into process.
That's nice.
I almost, the bank said, oh, go home and shred your checks. I didn't have a shredder. Luckily, I had to go a couple of days with the bank, but in any event, I wanted to share that so that everybody would know if something does happen, don't shred and call Social Security first if you're on their list to get the deposits and everything.
That's good advice.
Okay.
Thanks, Susan. Okay, last question, Rose, go ahead.
Oh, wait, we can't hear you yet, Rose.
Hold on.
There, sorry
Okay.
about that. Do you recommend going directly to the bank to set up their system on your, like on your computer and on your phone? Take both? Because sometimes I'm on my laptop, but sometimes I'm on my phone. And I don't want to have a problem saying, well, you can't get in with this device, you can't use this device, and then get all hyped up. And the other thing is, how do you get rid of cookies?
Okay. All right. So yeah. So the first part is, yeah, I would say yes. If you don't have a trusted person that can help you at home, that you feel comfortable with going, setting up your bank, I would say go
Unless
to
you
bank.
can come over.
Yeah. Send the jet. I'm coming. But yeah, I would go to the bank and have them get you set up so that you can at least know that somebody there is on your side and they're trying to get you set up properly, get your username and password. You get both your devices connected. And at that point, you can go home and kind of look at some tutorials. There's not really a lot of assistance like that. What you're going to have to lean on and hope for is that you can find somebody that will be patient enough that can help you out, because technically I've been told where people say, yeah, we just give you your username and password and it's not our job to kind of show you how to use it. They kind of, some people will move on to the next person. So hopefully you can get someone nice enough that can be kind of empathetic and understand your situation, and not just set you up, but just say, hey, this is how I would log in, and just take 10 minutes out of their day. So I definitely recommend that. The other thing is, when it comes down to cookies aren't a bad thing, okay? Are we talking about the ones we eat or the ones in our computer?
In the computer.
All right, just making sure. Okay, so those cookies aren't a bad thing either. So the cookies that you have on your website, they basically do a couple of things. So imagine, for instance, we go to a resort, right? When you go to a resort, you check in and you say, I'm going to be here. It's an all-you-can-eat buffet every single day. You check in, you give your credit card, you give all this stuff. It's a 5-minute check-in process. They tell you where your room's at. They tell you all the restaurants is at. Then they say, now we're going to give you this wristband. We're going to put it on your wrist. And the next time you come in here, you don't have to do this anymore. You're in here. So that's your cookie, right? So then you go up to your room, you eat, you do all this stuff, you go out, you do some parasailing, and you come back. And then when you go into the hotel, you don't have to check in again. The security guard at the door, they see the wristband, they're like, oh no, you're good, come on in. Essentially, that's what a cookie is doing. A cookie, when you go to a website, like for instance, if you go to, let's go to Amazon.com. You go to Amazon.com, you're like, oh, you know what? I need some cookies. You put that in the cart. You need this, you put that in the cart. And then you get a phone call and you walk away. You close your computer. You don't come back to your computer to the next day. You go back, you open up Amazon, your cart is still there. The cookie itself remembered that you had something in the cart. So Amazon will put a cookie in your browser so that when you go back, they remember who you are, not just because you're signed into their account, but you can remember it. even if you have a website that you don't have a sign in for and you throw something in your cart, they will still remember because they put a cookie in your browser to say, all right, we know that person. When they come back, we don't know their name, but we know that they came here from this particular device, so that their cart will still be there, and then you can go and check out. In addition to that, it just makes your experience a little bit better, kind of faster on the internet, so that that website would load faster. You don't have to do the check-in process. So the only time I would say is clear cookies. If you're having a problem with that website, then it's like, hey, clear out the cache, clear out the CACHE, the cache or cache, or your cookies, to kind of refresh your whole experience with them. And the check-in process to go to Amazon.com or any of these sites.com, it's not that long, but cookies aren't bad. I have cookies in my browser right now, a lot of them.
Okay.
Yes.
Well, thank you very much.